What's going on, my beautiful people from YouTube? Guys, we're gonna talk about three things. First, giveaway. I wanna make sure I do a giveaway that I promised last video. Secondly, I'm gonna go over the changes to the Helium Network. A lot of people have been asking, hey, why am I not getting witnesses? What's going on? And my rewards aren't even showing up the way they're supposed to anymore. Like, there's a lot of changes going on. And it's not a big change, but it's a really important change that impacts all of us. So I want to make sure I cover this one in detail. Last but not least, point number 3, I want to show you how to best place your Helium miner. Not only that, I want to give you a tool that you can use yourself to go ahead and take care of things on your own. But let's make sure that I get this giveaway out of the way right now. So this is the video. And in this video, I asked you guys to leave a comment down below that I was going to pick somebody from the video. This is the video right here. And I'm going to filter duplicate users. And I'm going to go ahead and get my YouTube comments. Now, let's see how many comments I get. 61 comments. So we're going to pick a random winner. Now, the key thing here is that you need to have DPR to the moon in your comment. If you don't have it, you can't win. All right. Ooh, Adam. Thanks for leaving a comment, buddy. It helps the algorithm, but there's no DPR to the moon in this comment, so we're going to pick again. Oh, look at this. By the way, DPR to the moon. Ed, come on over to the Discord channel. It's just discord.action.ceo, and I'll make sure you get yourself a little nice NFT. If you guys don't know who I am, I'll be real quick with this. Basically, I do videos on crypto. I do videos on finance. I do videos on a lot of things. But at the end of the day, my goal is to provide value with everything that I put up. So if you guys wouldn't mind, smash that like button. That's all I ask in return. I'll give you the best possible value that I can, as long as I can give me a hand with this whole YouTube thing. Right now, my main channel is actually taken down, so I'm posting here instead. I could have just waited out and figured things out on my other channel, but I figured that, hey, it's more important for me to provide you guys value than to wait around and say, oh, let me see what YouTube's going to do. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I talk about crypto. I talk about, I interview people in the crypto world. I was going to go on TV and all that, do a little late night show, but I said, nah, I'll let Jimmy Fallon do that. I'll just stick to YouTube and hanging out with you all in Discord. So here we go. Let's talk about the Helium Network. And here's what's going on with the Helium Network. And there have been a little bit of news. I love going on the Helium Engineering blog because I get like the detailed stuff as far as what's going on. But sometimes it's not always here. So here's what they're talking about, with this next release of the Proof of Coverage version 11. And they go on to a bunch of little things. But a big thing that they don't include here, or don't include clearly, is something that is already actually taking place. Here's an announcement from Helium, and they call it a upcoming proof of coverage bug fix, aka we're trying to prevent people from spoofing. That's what this means. So this is what they're doing. They're actually changing the way things are basically talking to one another, and the result is this deploying fix 593. And I'll go into 593 in a second here, but what does this mean? And this is important if you are already set up. If you have yourself a miner, please make sure that you have your location of your miner correctly plotted onto the Explorer. When you go on your app, plot it correctly, because this is going to impact everybody. Like I was saying, this is what's going to happen. They want to make sure that people are as far from the different devices as they are supposed to be. And there's no way for the Helium Network, for example, to say, oh, what kind of antenna are you using? You self-report those things. You say, I'm using this type of antenna. So they're trying to make sure that people are correctly self-reporting the devices and antennas that they're using. Not only that, they want to make sure people are staying within the parameters. The FCC is a little crazy as far as rules go. Like, technically, you're not supposed to swap out antennas, because if you do, that's not the stock equipment that comes and has been approved by the FCC. So it gets into all kinds of craziness. But obviously, most people want to swap out their antennas because they want to get the most out of their units, right? Like, you don't want a little cheapo antenna if that's not going to benefit you. But here's the problem. There are a few things that kind of impact all of us when we are changing antennas. And this is what it is. And it goes right along with this proof of coverage. Let's call it fix. That's what they're calling it. It's really a way, like, let's try to prevent spoofing. So antenna gain. And I've told you guys about this before, how a 3dB antenna is going to have a more oval, circular shape. And then the higher you go, the more beamed out things are going to be. And I did a video with a little show and tell in my, on Action Crypto, where I talked about all these things and explained it in detail to all of you. But keep this in mind, just in the back of your mind, because this is important for later on. Now, I told you that I was going to show you what this actually means. This is the validation, fix. Basically, they're saying, all right, if you're going to get credit for doing work on the network or being a part of the network, we're going to do like a little two-way communication, and we're going to validate things that, hey, are you really doing what you're saying you're doing? Because right now people are, because this was already implemented. Let's see how well it works. But people are spoofing a lot of information and pretending to be places they never were. So the way they're fixing this is by using this little method here, which basically takes two things into account, which is the RSSI that's going to figure out essentially like how strong your signal is. And secondly, they're going to look at that SNR. It's on the bottom. That's your signal to noise ratio, like how crazy is the signal going on. And you want to plot yourself in the part that is green on this chart. And it kind of gets crazy as we go along because you don't want too strong of an antenna. I know people are like, well, I got a 15 dBi antenna and this is going to be awesome. I'm going to get all of these validation. I'm going to talk to a bunch of validators. And I'm going to just make a ton of HNT. That is not necessarily how it works. You want to be cognizant of how much signal you're actually putting out. Because again, the FCC already stipulated a bunch of things. Here in the US with Helium, you have a 27 dBm maximum, transmission ratio is essentially what it is. And I can pull this stuff up, but take a look at this. And I use this as an example because everybody loves seeing Nebras when they've been waiting for them for over a year. Let me pull this up right here. Maximum power. So what's a maximum output on these units? 24 to 27 dBm. Okay, cool. So that's how much the output. Now you need to take in consideration that the EU, it's less than this. So that's why they have these two little stars, is because, when you're in Europe, this is not going to be the same. Maximum CX power may be capped to, lower amount in some regions. Essentially, you're not outputting as much power and the antenna is not going to reach as far. Cool. This is all fine and dandy. Like, let me break it down and translate it to you, like just in layman's terms. If you have a really strong signal, and you think you're going to be doing great because you're reaching people where they're, other people wouldn't be able to reach them. That's not necessarily good because, that signal to noise ratio is good until it isn't. It gets to, there's a point of diminishing returns because once you reach this little red area here, you're in big trouble because you're not going to get validated anymore. That's how they're trying to combat spoofing. And here are the numbers that you need to be worried about, concerned. Let's not say worried, because this is a big deal. In the US, with our 915 megahertz frequency, the maximum power, like everything put together, your antenna plus the max power is 36. The easy way of going about this is looking at, all right, what's the max EIRP? And then take a look at what the maximum power is, which your unit's probably putting out because your units want to be efficient and put out as much power as possible. You get, a value of 9. That 9 for the US, that's how strong your antenna can be. Because if you're hitting somebody outside of these parameters, well, guess what? Your returns aren't going to increase. They're going to go down. So you want to find the optimum power for that antenna, which is why I always talk about placement is everything. More important than the power and even the antenna type you're using. If you're putting out too much power and you're beaming this thing somewhere where, let's say, it shouldn't be beamed to, like that's too strong, because remember that little graph that I showed you before, right? Like that's the 9. People go to 12. You can get, sector or, directional antennas that will go higher than 9. And you're getting that signal to be way stronger at specific points. That could be bad news bears because you're going to go over the limit and you're going to be looked at as cheating. You're hacking the system, and that way you're not going to earn rewards. And this gets worse. There are a few things here that I'm not putting in just so that you can actually understand it a lot easier, but there is signal loss when it comes to the cable you're using, the length of the cable, if you have an enclosure, if it's behind glass, if it's behind walls. So there is some loss that can take place even before it reaches the antenna. I just want to make sure I cover this portion that's important in regards to what we're doing right now with this update. So keep this in mind. The other one I want to show you is for the EU. If you just go by the numbers when it comes to these guys, the maximum you should be using is a 4 dBi antenna because their limits are much, much lower. So the max EIRP on this one is 16 dBm, and the maximum power out there is only going to be 12. So that leaves you a 4 dBi antenna for you to use. Now, does this mean that you can only use a 4 dBi antenna? No, absolutely not. Especially if you have loss of signal before it reaches somewhere else. If you're using these indoors, you want to use something, a little bit better than, I don't want to say better, but a little bit different than that 4 dBi antenna because you're probably going to reach more people that way. But you got to be cognizant of how much power you're actually putting out because you can't go too far. And to bring up this little graph here one more time, I want to tell you guys that, yeah, it's, if you look at these numbers, you want a number that is lower. So, you see that green and that red right there. So on the left side, you have 80 to 130. The lower, the better. And when it comes to the noise, again, you want to make sure that you are out of that invalid zone because that's a big deal. This is where people get in trouble, where they're like, "Oh, I got this great signal, and it's people are getting it everywhere, but you're not going to get the returns you're expecting." And some of the people that were getting wonderful returns no longer are. And this is a win, honestly, at the end of the day, for people utilizing the Helium Network because it's going to place the ownership of people to self-report correctly and really tell the network, hey, this is the antenna that I'm using. This is how my setup is structured. And a lot of these little nuances, I've been getting questions about it, and I want to make sure you guys understand. So this is a big deal. That's why I want to make sure I cover what the EU, numbers look like, as well as what the US numbers look like, because this is a big deal for everyone. So the higher number doesn't always mean better. Now, yeah, it sucks for some people. Like you're going to have to look at your system. Here's my recommendation for you to look at where to go and what to do. Hotspot RF, and I did cover these guys on my other channel before. There's something a little bit better about them now. The beta portal is no longer beta. So even with your free account, again, try to keep things free, you can get 10 credits for free on this platform. So it doesn't cost you anything, and I'll put a link down below to their, website, and I'll make sure that's probably going to be a referral link, just tracking how many people I'm actually sending over there. Now, let me take a look at the actual map, and I'll give you a quick rundown as far as what this looks like. Let me just do San Diego, California. There we go. And then you just click on the search. You can actually search for whatever you want. You can actually put the name of, an actual miner in here, and it'll find them for you, which is pretty awesome. All right, so here we are in San Diego, and little help as far as navigating this goes, because it was a little bit difficult for me to actually sort things out and figure out where things were located. This top left-hand corner, you're going to see a dashboard. If you click on there, you're going to get details. This little button next to the close button you're going to click that, and you're going to get all these options here. Again, top, right here, that's where you get more options. And okay, great, it's a little map. There are a few options here. So under the layers, which is this first one here, you get to select a few different things. Dots will show you all of the miners in this location. This can crash your system because sometimes if you zoom out, it just loads a ton of stuff. Hex, I actually recommend doing hex because it makes it a little easy for you to visualize things. Where am I at? Hotspots. Let me go San Diego, California. Yep, I'm still here. All right. So These are all my different hexes, and I can put the number of the total hotspots with this next one here. Let's focus just on these for now because it's a lot of data to load already, and I might even crash my system. That's the thing with this, with this platform. They don't hold back as far as giving you data, and sometimes your machine might not even be able to handle it. So be cognizant of that. Give it a little bit of time, and I'm probably, yeah, there we go, loaded. I'm probably going to do a disservice if I try to, do everything that it's capable of, just because I mean, I have a lot of stuff actually going on my computer right now with broadcasts from NVIDIA, OBS and everything else that I'm using. But this is a tool that I like to use to place miners and figure out how profitable they're going to be. And this is how you do it. And you might look simple, and it is, and that's what you want. The second button here says Map Stylings on the bottom left-hand corner, and I have the dark here, but something that they have is the terrain. Now, terrain makes all the difference in the world. And let me zoom in a little bit here. Actually, let's say I'm placing my miner right there. Now, if I go flat, and to do this, just hold the right, mouse button and drag around, and you're going to be able to move this. Now I'm going to turn the terrain on so you just can see it. See how big of a difference that makes? It went from just being a flat thing into actually showing you where the peaks and valleys actually are. So I'm going to place my miner right there. And for you to calculate what your profitability is going to be, simply go to the single point. And here's where things get fun. Now, my antenna, again, remember how I told you guys about the antenna? 9 is the most you want to go with in this region. I'm going to go with an 8 dBi antenna because I know where you can get some of those, and I'll put a link to some antennas as well on the description for the video. Cable loss, you can actually calculate some of that. Let's say I have no cable loss, and this is important. How high your hotspot's going to be, because this actually makes a big difference. Placement is everything when it comes to hotspots, and making sure that you have it in a really nice, clear line of sight, like I have selected here, makes a big difference. So you have the, unsure legacy, indoors, outdoors. I'm going to set this up as an outdoor unit. I'm going to say I have a clear line of sight because I am on top of a hill right there. And they do have some other options. And this healthy mix is actually one of my preferred ones for some of the more urban areas. But right now, this is a clear line of sight. I'm going to go ahead and simulate this location and see what I get. Now, keep in mind that this process can take a couple of, a little bit, might even take up to a minute, because it's trying to calculate not just, okay, so this is how far it's going to go. No, it's actually taking the topography of the land into consideration when it calculates what your miner will be able to do. So it goes a little bit further than you might see in a few different locations. Like it's actually trying to say, all right, so this is where my location is. Let me beam out the RF signal with these parameters and give back to you exactly how far your reach is going to be. And I am pretty certain when I see the reach here, it's going to say that I need to go spend every, dollar I have in the bank to put a miner up in that hill, because it's going to be super profitable. Because if it's profitable down here, that top of the hill can only get better. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit here so you can see what my reach is. It's kind of insane for you to think about how far this thing actually gets. This is incredible. If you're able to get to a location like this, I mean, you're a happy camper, because you're going to be doing decently, I guess you can say, when it comes to earnings. You're going to get your earning information on the bottom right-hand corner. Oh, look, my transmit scale is, 0.3. That's not very good. My percentile is under 100. You always want to have, you want that percentile, you want to try to keep it over 100%. It's basically comparing you to other people on this platform, searching to see what their profitability is going to be. So, okay, this is not as good as I thought it was going to be. What do I do now? And I'm going to run the same simulation just to give you one more example. If I do change the parameters, I'm going to say I have a 3 dBi antenna, and that my height is, I'm going to make it, bring it down to, let's say it's 5 feet. just to see what what kind of difference this will make, because I think it's important for us to actually understand that there is a big difference when you change your parameters. For an antenna that's only 3 dBi as opposed to 8 dBi, the reach is going to be much less, but it's going to have that bubble effect. And while this is loading, hopefully I don't crash this, but remember, that's the difference between these antennas. Is it reaching really far, or is it trying to encapsulate things and reach more people? Let's see what this gives us. Because remember, if you're just shooting over all these other hotspots, there's no point. There's no win when it comes to that. You got to make sure that you're actually targeting, your signal is actually hitting these hotspots. Otherwise, it is pointless. Look at this. Now I went up to a 107 percentile, and I can see there are even more witnesses that I'll be able to reach. And look at my HNT earnings range. It went way up. I just want to give you guys an example that actually works. Higher dBi for your antenna isn't always better. So please keep that in mind. For everybody that's been asking me questions about, hey, what's going on with my hotspot, please head on over to we're going to do Hotspot RF action.ceo. That way you can see what's going on. You can actually try different things and see what it's going to be like for your units. This is a huge thing, especially because it's free. And if it's free, it's for me. Again, my goal is to provide you guys with a little bit of value here. If this was helpful at all, if you wouldn't mind smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm. If you want to hear more from me, hit that subscribe. If you really want to hear more from me, hit that bell for notification. That way you know when the next video drops. Join the Discord. It's discord.action.ceo. We are a bunch of good people over there. If you have questions with your deeper network devices, Helium, whatever it is that you might need, Helium. By the time I launch this video, maybe we'll have some news around Helium and deeper. That might be fun. We'll see what happens with that, or even something else. I might have to post a video right after this one, but we'll get to it. Guys, you all are incredible. Thank you so much for the ongoing support. It's been a phenomenal ride so far, even with my main channel being canceled. Again, not doing this for me, doing this for you all, which is why I am still here creating content to provide you guys with value and get you to the next level. Thank you so much, and I will see you all on the next video. Take care.